Welcome to the JMark Business Innovation Technology Experience.
Okay, welcome. We are now broadcasting live on Facebook. We are now broadcasting on Workplace, and we are recording for everybody who wants to listen and watch this later. I'm Todd Nielsen, Chief Strategy Officer at JMark Business Solutions. And also along here, we have Jeff. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Jeff Bandura. I'm the Director of Client Relationship Management here at JMark.
Dax?
I'm Dax Bambro. I'm in charge of content strategy at JMark.
And last but not least, Christina?
I'm Christina Coons, and I do marketing and events.
Okay, so today we are talking about one of our favorite tools, Workplace, and the topic of today's discussion is leading a remote team with the help of Workplace from Facebook. So a lot of people out there probably have never even heard of Workplace. I know that when I first heard of Workplace, I was like, this is owned by Facebook? Really? That same company, Blue, has billions of people on the platform? But this one was a little unknown, and now it's becoming a massive, I don't want to say a movement of sorts, but it's getting a lot of progress, and a lot of companies are adopting it. So how about we paint a picture of what Workplace is for those who are listening or watching, so they can imagine in their mind and differentiate it from Facebook, which some people have mixed feelings about. Jeff, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I struggled with too when we were first introduced to the platform. You know, we were really struggling from having all the employees using the same communication platform. We had different teams using different things, and so when we were introduced to Workplace, it was kind of challenging to kind of put our heads around why would I use Facebook in the Workplace. But when we really started to learn all the things that it can do, it really became a no-brainer. I mean, we're really looking for something that has as close to 100% adoption rate as possible, is really easy to use, doesn't require much training, and really helps drive the culture and the collaboration. And I think from that standpoint alone, Workplace was just a no-brainer because what we hoped would happen did happen. We have a really fantastic piece of software and collaboration tool sets that really drive our culture. We're all using the same methodology, so if Dax wants to reach out to me, he knows that I'll respond. Same thing with Christina or Todd, and we're really able to collaborate a lot tighter together just because it's so easy and so familiar in how it all works.
Right. What I want to paint a picture is that for those who don't know Workplace, imagine Facebook, but without all of the garbage, without all of the politics, without all the stuff you really don't want to know about. And imagine a closed loop system, essentially, that is just your coworkers, just your team, that you can have groups with, whether it's a group for a committee, a group for your team, a group for a department, just like Facebook groups, but herein it is a group that's just contained to those you work with. And you have chat, just like Facebook, except it's contained within Workplace. It has integration abilities with other software out there, but generally software that is more used in the workplace, things like Trello and things like Smartsheet and Dropbox and Box and those kind of things. And it's essentially a collaboration tool for businesses of all sizes, and it can be designed for hundreds of thousands of users, or dozens of people. We have groups that we use that are, imagine a Facebook group with 2 people, just Dax and I are in a Facebook group essentially, but it's a workplace group. And we do our one-on-one stuff in there. And we have, there's just so many possibilities to what we can do. And I really hope that people that listen to this today can really perceive the magnitude of what Facebook has done and learned over the years and brought it into a work environment that improves collaboration, that improves teamwork, that gives essentially more power to and more of a voice to both leaders and those being led, just every employee in the company. And it's just an amazing tool. So Dax, or seeing any other thing to help paint this picture of what workplace is that I maybe missed? And Jeff?
I would add that for me, I'm full-time remote even before the social distancing in this era that we're in. So ever since I started at JMark, we've been using Workplace. And so for me, it's been, in essence, the remote version of like the office. So one of my monitors is 90%, that's where Facebook is. Facebook is what's on that monitor 90% of the day. And the chat feature, like Jeff mentioned, it's my method of, the idea of walking next door. If I was in the office, walking over to Jeff's office and asking him a question, the chat feature makes it, for me, feel like Jeff's right there. Christina's right there if I need something. And same thing for entire teams. You mentioned groups. So there's the, group for our marketing team where I can keep tabs on things that are going on that aren't necessarily part of what I'm working on, but the rest of the team is. Same thing with maybe the business development team. I can go over to that group. Or there's a team for each of the offices. For the Tulsa office, can look in that group and kind of keep tabs on everybody as if I was in their office, what's going on and everything in Tulsa. And for me, as a remote employee, it's a huge advantage to be able to do that. It makes me feel as much as possible like I'm in the office with everybody, not thousands of miles away.
Right. Agree. And it's not the distraction that you might think of Facebook, that Facebook brings. There are things you can do in the system that make it fun. We have groups for those who like to grill. We have groups for those who like to go to garage sales. So there are some outlets for that, and to get to know your coworkers more. But also it's very focused. It's intentional. You design it how you need to design it.
So, sorry, go ahead, Jeff. I was about to switch into something new. Okay, so I just actually want to ask you, Jeff and Todd, from the leadership standpoint, when it comes to maintaining collaboration within your team, how do you use Workplace for that?
Todd, do you want to go?
I can go. You can. Sure. The collaboration. So our team, we have 6 employees in 4 states. We're just a small marketing team, and I'm in Texas. Our headquarters is in Springfield. So I am away from the entire company. So leading that team with Workplace allows me so much greater collaboration. I can do video chats with people at any time, just like you can do a video chat in Facebook. We do daily stand-up every day in our team. So we broadcast live with all of our faces and a video stand-up, and that so we can check on what's happening. We have a chat group that's always going that we can share and collaborate on things, whether it's as a group or individuals. The the collaboration aspect is just phenomenal. And I think the big advantage of, or one of the big advantages that maybe I hadn't thought about before, but before when we were using a multitude of systems and we had a little bit of a sprawl in terms of all of the communication and collaboration platforms, Workplace does so much that allows us to contain all of that collaboration in a single system, so to speak. And of course we have other systems we use, but between, you can do phone calls, you can do chat, you can do video, you can do text, you can share documents, you can share just about everything. And it's all in that one system. So for me, from the standpoint of leading a team, it's allowed much more simplicity for me. Instead of going to a multitude of systems and emails and chat systems, and it's allowed, focus. I can just focus on this one system and provide all the collaboration across all the different mediums. And it's so personal. I mean, I don't feel like I'm away from the main office. I don't feel like Dax is in Utah. He's literally about 3 inches that way on my screen. And that's how it is. Jeff, you might have a little different perspective.
No, I mean, I think you hit it really, really, really well. I think one of the things I like the most about it is the flexibility of the chat feature. For one, I mean, you can spin up new groups, as you mentioned, but you can actually name the groups too, to make it easier to go back in your list and find who was in that group. You can add and remove people. I mean, it's just really, really easy to use, really quick. You can get answers quickly. What I love about it though is if I'm at the office and people see me not in my chair, they may not reach out to me. If I'm in a meeting and they know I'm in a meeting, oh, Jeff's not in his office, okay. And then they may forget what they were gonna ask me. But because we're all remote, now actually they'll jump on Workplace chat and they'll message me and then they'll move on. And when I see it, then I can reply. And so we're not losing that we used to lose, candidly. So I feel like during this whole thing, our teamwork has really come together tighter because everyone is so integrated into Workplace, and we're all very, very easily accessible. I think that's one of the biggest features. The other thing I really love is within Workplace, Todd mentioned you can have different groups. And I love watching what Todd posts every day in the marketing group. And I love watching what our CEO posts for the thought of the day. And you can create these different groups and be a different part of the groups and see the posts, and you can see the posts that you want to see. And there's a lot of freedom in that I really enjoy learning the different aspects that other people in the company are doing. Because I know what me and my team are doing, but it's really cool to see the posts from the marketing team every day and the service team when they post things. So I think, again, not to sound like a broken record, but it really drives the cross-team collaboration a lot more. And I think we've really seen that a ton with the recent pandemic that's going on. Is, a lot of people are scared that remote employees won't be as productive. And Todd, I know you hit on that before in previous sessions, but I've seen the exact opposite. Our productivity has gone higher than it was when we were all in one location.
Yeah, you mentioned one thing there too that I hadn't thought about today, but we have a group that we call Marketing in the Wild. And the reason we formed that group, and most of the company is in that group, the reason we formed it, because when we were sending out an email or posting an ad out or doing some different campaign or initiative, we constantly had people going, oh, I didn't know you were sending this email out. I was like, well, it really wasn't meant for you. It's for our prospects, but okay. And but it was essentially, we were not communicating to everybody in the company. They didn't know what was going on to help us, to help promote everything that we were doing. And I mean, there is hundreds of tasks every day and different things happening on marketing. And by using this group in Workplace, it's allowed us to spread out our collaboration to the entire company, and where we can throw something out and say, hey, this is the video we produced. We're going to be using it in this fashion. this is a webinar that's going to be happening on this date. Please share it out there. Here's an ebook, you know, please share it with clients. And that's just an example of taking our team's, you know, work and being able to collaborate it across the entire organization, which I think has been pretty awesome. I'd like to hear actually from Dax and Christina, you know, coming from the standpoint, you're in a little different boat in collaboration. How does it feel from your side? You know, what are the pros, what are the cons? How does Workplace help with that?
I would say one thing that you guys kind of mentioned, but you didn't hit this perspective of it, which I really like, is this idea that, you know, when you get something, when you get a message from somebody and they need something, there's always a varying level of urgency with different things. And I feel like Facebook or Workplace gives us options to kind of make that more clear. If I get a chat from Todd and he asks me a question, I know he's sending it in a chat because he needs that document right then or an answer right away. But if he posts it in our one-on-one Workplace group that's just me and him, then I know that it's something that he's basically saying, this isn't urgent right away, but I'd like to hear what you think about it. And it makes that distinction immediately where, you know, back in the day when it was just email, an email just kind of piles up on itself when you don't know what the urgency is. And to me, that's a huge, like, it's a small thing, but it results in a big helping efficiency because you know what to focus on first.
Yeah, I totally agree. And another piece of the collaboration with Workplace by Facebook is I'm pretty sure there were a lot of people at JMark who I built relationships with entirely through Workplace that I had never even met in person once I started. And then I met them in person and our relationship went on from there, but it all started through Workplace. It's truly amazing the way that it brings an entire company together, even when we're all spread out.
Yeah, you know, Dax, you bring up a really good point, and I really hadn't thought of it much till you said that about the email. You know, I don't get really high price emails much anymore, and that used to be pretty par for the course. Was, you know, kind of getting caught in email hell of, oh geez, I've got 300 messages, which ones are important? And if it didn't have a little red asterisk or a little red exclamation point, I probably missed it. And nowadays, you know, my email itself has probably gone down by at least 30%, if not more, because maybe it's because I'm more accessible because of the platform, or maybe it's because people can reach out to me, like you said, that Todd does, like, hey, this is pretty important. And we've kind of got that communications code of conduct too, if you will, where if I see a chat pop, even if I'm not in a meeting, I'll glance at it and be like, oh, okay, that's pretty important, and I know I need to respond to it. Whereas if I get an email, like right now, email's down here on my list. It's Workplace posts, it's chat, and then it's email.
I just thought about something that I've never realized, and that is regarding email. So we have, I've mentioned before, we have roughly 9,000 chats a day that are happening at JMark, and it goes up and down depending on the day. That's essentially emails that are no longer in our system. But what I realize is I get a lot of emails, and I was chatting with Michelle over Workplace earlier. She's one of our teammates, and she was saying, hey, sorry about all the emails you're getting from whatever it was she was doing. She was doing some testing, and I just laughed. I just sent a little LOL GIF or something and laughed, and like it's a drop in the bucket. And what I just realized is that I still get a lot of email, but my email processing time has gone down by probably 90% because I can go in my email and I can scan through 100 emails that maybe came in the last few hours and quickly get to any that are internal or important. because most of the other ones I can quickly see are coming from outside resources, or maybe they're just not important to something I have to deal with at that moment. So I can take an email where I might send an email out to our prospect list and have 800 emails auto responses come back, and that, along with emails coming from different systems like Trello and emails coming from employees, and I can quickly just go bam, 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 900 emails, and pick out the 3 emails I need to respond to. And while yes, email has gone down, what's more important for me is that the email processing time has gone down. So now I can do a select all essentially and go move those over here, and I'll look at those sometime later when I'm really bored, which will never happen. So anyways, thought that was interesting.
It's a good point.
So I would say, especially maybe right now with the pandemic and with everybody spread out working from home for the first time, as leaders, Jeff and Todd, how do you guys use, or how does Workplace help you to keep morale high on your team?
For me, it really, I've said it before already today, but I think it's my availability. Even when I'm in a meeting, it's not like I'm not available to people, and my response times to them is faster than it used to be, and they get answers faster, which I think in turn makes them feel more supported. We have a daily huddle as well, where we get together and we'll start the day. I'll pick some random music while people are jumping in the lobby, and we'll listen to music for a little bit, and then we'll start off with some good news, and then we'll go around the horn for some escalations that are going on. But it really, every day you get to see people. Like, we get to see each other every day, and we laugh. We start the day out laughing almost every single day. I mean, somebody says something stupid or funny, or somebody posts a hilarious meme in the group before the meeting starts. I mean, so it's driving that kind of easygoing culture. I mean, what we do is very challenging, but we've got such a great group of people, and we all get along so well that we really have a lot of fun collaborating together and bouncing ideas off each other. And I think Workplace really drives that a lot. We've got the CRM group that's created that we post in. We've got our chat that we're always in, and we're in multiple other chats together. So I think for me anyway, that's really what's driven a lot of the cohesion, if you will, and is just being able to see people and reach out and be immediately there for them.
I agree. If I had to break down the answer to that question in one word, it would be memes. A lot of people might think that's crazy or even stupid, but the interesting thing is when you send any kind of text communication, email, chat, whatever it is, it can appear, it's super easy to misread it. And to just not understand the tone, and you can't really make fun of the text, which is a weird way to say it. But if I'm writing something and Christina responds with some interesting thing, that wouldn't really be appropriate necessarily on email, because you're responding to possibly a reply all, and it just gets sent and over and over and over again. And it's a different feeling. But when Christina shares a meme and Dax shares a meme and Jeff does, and we're all just like laughing back and forth, it changes the tone of the communications and takes a situation that is potentially stressful and makes it kind of funny. I mean, we've had many times on the marketing team when we actually laugh sometimes, because we're like, there's never a marketing emergency, and then there'll be a marketing emergency. And we just make fun of it all the time. And it just, I don't know, for me, there are times when I'm so glad I don't have my video on, like we're just on a chat. And I'm just like sitting there just laughing so hard because of some stupid thing that Christina or somebody shared. And it just kind of makes my day, you know, as a remote employee and as a manager. Just little things like that are just bring out the fun in our communication and collaboration. And there's a million other areas we could go on there, but JMark, fun is one of our values. And I can honestly say that with Workplace, I have way more fun than I had in the office when I lived in Springfield, interacting with people every day, because you're talking face to face to somebody. You know, you can't like meme somebody, you know, you can't like smiley face somebody in a live conversation. And so it's a little bit more serious, but at the same point with chat going so quickly, it's not unproductive, because it's just like a and then everybody moves on and goes on their things, goes on their way and gets some of the right other stuff. But I think it's just, I don't know, it's been awesome. And also the quickness, you mentioned this a little bit, Jeff, in that I can, you know, right before this meeting, we made a major change to how we were going to do this webinar, and I spun up a quick chat group with all of us, and bam, we talked through it really quick and we were done. I mean, if I were in an office or in email and had to pull everybody together for a conference call, I mean, you just could not do that quick. And just the speed at which you can move with the platform, or has enabled us to move with the platform, has been just a massive help for our productivity and just everything we can get done.
You know, I hadn't really thought about that before, Todd, when you talked about reducing stress, because when in the crazy times we're in, you know, obviously there's a lot more stress for people. There's a lot of uncertainty, but if you can bring that fun, which is one of our core values, into every day, and you can decrease that stress level, it allows people to be more creative. And I think that's one of the things you guys do really well as a team, looking from the outside in, is you guys are constantly having fun, you're constantly challenging each other, and you're really, really creative. And I think your ability to keep that stress down and make each other laugh and have fun every day through the platform, I think helps a ton in your productivity and creativity.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. And then your question, we've kind of talked all around this, was more around motivation. Is that right?
Morale. Yeah.
Morale. Okay, that's right. Yeah. So the other thing that we mentioned, someone mentioned, is that so Tom does a daily post to a all company group that we have.
Tom, our CEO.
Tom, our CEO, and he schedules the post. So that's a cool thing you can do in the system, is you don't have to actually be up at 4 a.m. when often he's posting these things, although he is up at 4 a.m. often. But he schedules the post, and it's a post that goes to everybody in the company every single workday, and it's just meant to inspire. It's just meant to motivate. It's meant to make you think, and it's just kind of a way that he's chosen to help start the day off right for everybody. And there are other people in the company. Jeff shares motivational quotes sometimes within his team. I share motivational quotes, but I do it a little bit different. I try to tie the quote into something that's going on the team. Everybody does it a little bit differently, and I think it's those little things like that that just help to start people's days off right and help to keep morale up, because you never know when well, you do, but I mean, during a typical day, there's often people that worked late the night before on some project or some initiative. And so coming in the morning to a message of inspiration and a message of hope is a lot better than just coming in and getting on your tasks. And it allows you to kind of refocus, I think, and and kind of get back into what you need to do and not be focusing on the dread of everything that maybe you were working on the day before. So I think that's a big morale boost as well.
Yeah, talking about all this stuff, I can't imagine not having workplace, honestly. Like all of the little things we're talking about add up so much, and the little things are the big things. The memes, the gifts, the thought of the day, the inspiration, the groups, the grilling, like all of it. I can't imagine working without it.
So what are some other ways, and I have some thoughts, but Jeff, what are some other ways that you are leading your team, and maybe not so much from the collaboration side, because collaboration really fits into everything within workplace, but how are you leading the team and using workplace? How does that help you move things forward, in what ways?
One of the ways I didn't consider when we first implemented it was the ability to post files to the groups that we've been talking about. So, developing training and then posting the files within the CRM group on Workplace, so that as we get new team members and we're doing, onboarding and they're getting used to our systems, they've got a place to go to hey, how do I do that? We can go and look at the training videos that are posted there. And so that's something that maybe people don't know about, that really helps drive a lot of everybody looking in the same place. Todd, you mentioned the post within the group every day, and setting goals and challenges, and you can do polls. You can do polls for if we have a big team win, then I'll do a poll to see what people want to do. Hey, do you want to go axe throwing, bowling? Do you want to go out and get a big dinner together? And then people can vote in the poll within Workplace to really, help quickly decide what we want to do. I mean, before Workplace, it would be 50 emails later and everyone would be like, I don't care. Let's just do something. And now, with the ability to have polls and things like that, you can act quickly. People are like, yeah, I want to do it. I want to do it on this day, and I want to go here. And then, okay, cool, that's what we're doing. And so it really drives down any frustration that might happen. And it also gets people really quickly engaged, like, oh, sweet, there's a poll. Yeah, I'll do that. And so I think from leading and making sure that we do have the fun that you've talked about, Todd, that really helps a ton. And the training aspect is something that I didn't think about until we've been talking about it, is, yeah, you can post files there and you can point people to go here to consume the content that you need if you forget. So I think that's a big aspect that maybe a lot of people don't really utilize yet.
Yeah, definitely. I think over the years that we've been using Workplace on the marketing team, it's kind of evolved, and we've done different things with it. We started out with a marketing group that was just the marketing members, and it was more of a closed group, and we opened up that group to everybody in the company, not inviting them, but making it open so that others can view it. And that's allowed us to better lead from the front, so to speak, in marketing, and make sure everybody's aware of things and what we're doing and what's happening on the team. Last year, we also set up individual one-on-one teams. And so we use Workplace as kind of our agenda and talking points and anything specific. And we have them set up too as not closed and not open, but they're actually a third type of group, which is called a secret group, which only myself and that employee have access to. Administrators can see that a secret group exists, but they can't view any posts or join the group or anything like that. And that allows us the confidentiality, so to speak, to talk about personal things. If somebody's relative or spouse or somebody is having an issue, and they can send me a message on there and say, hey, I'm going to be out tomorrow. Here are some things I'm working on. Maybe can you make sure these are taken care of? We use it as our agenda. We also, I mentioned earlier, use it for stand-ups. Being in a remote team, we use it for stand-ups, but also our stand-ups are in our marketing group that everybody in the company has access to. So if our sales team needs to understand what's the marketing team working on a certain day, they can watch the video for 10 minutes, which is usually about how longest it is, and exactly know what's going on, and anybody else in the company can as well. So from the standpoint of just leading, it's provided just so many more avenues to lead differently. Even if it would be interesting to see the difference in the company if we were actually all in one location, because I actually think that workplace has improved our ability to lead, our ability to collaborate, our ability to, inject more fun into the culture, our ability to be more real, with everybody and who everybody is. So I think it's just been pretty awesome from that standpoint, and I think it's maximized what we could potentially reach as just if we were all together in one place. And we are way more than 6 feet apart right now, so we got this social distancing thing down.
We got that down for sure.
Right. So we're getting a whole bunch of questions on Facebook Live, which we haven't answered. Anybody want to, let's see. People are often opposed to change. How does a company smoothly transition a new communication platform to a new communication platform? That's a good question.
I would say
Jeff,
for one,
or Christina, go ahead.
Part of that at least is that it is by Facebook, and it's very similar to the normal Facebook that everyone already has and uses and they're familiar with. So that, at least for me, coming into the company and starting with Workplace, there was no learning curve. It was the easiest transition for me.
That's true. I didn't even think about that. I mean, we have a whole training system in place when we roll it out to companies, but I mean, when it was rolled out for JMark, there wasn't a training system. There was just like, hey, everybody, here's an invite. And everybody just started posting things and collaborating. And it's just, if you know Facebook, you know the system, essentially.
Yeah.
Todd, I think with that, a huge part of that, I wasn't there right at the beginning when you guys were changing over, but I know by the time I joined JMark, it was easy for me to make sure and use it and become a habit of, like I mentioned, it's always up on my screen because the leaders in the company use it. So I know that the communication that's going to come from you and Jeff and from Tom, the CEO, or anybody is oftentimes going to come through Workplace. So it's, I know that if it's important to the leaders of the company, then it's a useful tool because you guys wouldn't be using it if it wasn't useful for all the rest of us as well.
I think that's an awesome point, Dax. Our CEO, I think, has done a phenomenal job of leading by example. And he dove in with both feet and just started posting and getting people excited about it. And the exec team was on board, and everybody on the exec team was excited about it. And as Christina said, the adoption rate was super easy because, I mean, it's Facebook, but it's for your company. And I think once people really saw how cool it could be, they start spinning up groups like Fortnite groups and grilling groups and bowling groups, and I mean, we've talked about it, but it was that ease of transition. I think. I mean, there's really no barriers to not do it because everybody knows how to use Facebook, and it does. I mean, it does pretty much everything you need it to, from file management to spinning up new collaboration groups together to chatting. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer, really.
Yeah, when it was first when the invitation was first sent out to a handful of people, the initial reaction was very similar to what Kelly mentioned, in the sense of, another tool. Because at that time, there were a multitude of tools. I mean, we had chat platforms from Cisco and from Microsoft and from, I don't even remember them all. And of course, email on top of that, and there's just a multitude of systems. And so it was initially saw as, oh, it's another tool. Well, when do I use this tool? When do I use that tool? And we did have some growing pains in that perspective, because we had to realize that we had to say goodbye to some tools, and that hurt some feelings. I mean, not really, but people tend to like certain things. They're used to. They don't like change, like Kelly said. And but we eventually had to come to the point of just saying, we are shutting this system down. It's no longer being used. We're shutting this system down. Chat through Workplace is the de facto, or Workplace is the de facto standard for everything. And so I think the transition to someone or a company who's worried about the change is, one, the change isn't hard, assuming they have a Facebook account. And I think there's, I don't even know what it is, there like 4 billion Facebook accounts or something. So most people, your chances of all your employees being on Facebook are pretty good. And so they'll understand it from that perspective. And then leadership has to take the stand in saying, you know, change is coming, and we have to eliminate and narrow down the tools that we use. And I think that goes into what somebody else asked about on Facebook, is the communication code of conduct, which came from this process. And essentially the communication code of conduct says, you know, if there's certain communication and it's this priority, use this method. If there's certain communication you need really fast response, use this method and this tool. And it allows us to kind of focus on that. And we're still making tweaks. I don't know if any of you want to describe that in a little bit better detail than me.
I think you hit on something really important too, that I hadn't really considered, and I forgot we had done it. We shut down the other platforms. And so I think that's key too, is you're looking at resistance on something that people have moved for years. The adoption's easy, but if people can still go back to what they've been used to, then you're probably not going to get the adoption that you want and the consistency you want. So having the ability to just set a date and say, on July 15th, System X is no longer available. That really forces people to use what leadership in the company is saying we're going to use, and then the leaders are using it, and then everyone's using it, and it just kind of becomes SOP naturally at that point.
And a lot of people fear change from the standpoint that change is hard. You know, the rolling out Workplace is, I mean, there's some work on the back end, and when we roll it out, we do most of that back end stuff for our clients, but it integrates with Office 365 for those that are using Office 365 for email and for Active Directory services. It integrates with Active Directory if you're using that for authentication. So you can really quickly, essentially, pull all your users in, get them the authentication to make sure it's secure, and it already integrates with other tools like Dropbox and Box for file sharing and SharePoint and things like that. So it's all built in. You just connect. There's still some things you got to do, but in getting away from the fear of change, one has to realize that it's probably one of the easiest changes you could make in an organization, because one, people are going to be familiar with the tool once they see it, and two, the setup is not going to involve massive numbers of people and IT to figure out how to get it configured, because the most difficult decision you have to make is what are the names of the groups that you want to create. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Since you can connect with anyone from anywhere, how secure is Workplace? How secure is Workplace? Jeff?
Well, I can tell you that we would not be using it if it weren't. In all the industries that we're involved in, the security is the first thing we look at when we're choosing any vendor. And so the certifications that we are bound to in the security that we promise our clients is the top of mind every time we're looking at a platform. And so that's the first question that we worked on with Facebook on is, hey, how secure is this? That really was our first question. And then kind of to the second point that you brought up, you can collaborate with anyone, anywhere within your company. So it's not like, you can just randomly pop out to someone within Workplace and start having a conversation. It's not the open public Facebook. It is the company centered format of Facebook, which is why they call it Workplace. And that was one of our concerns too. To your point is, well, I mean, when I first heard it, I'm like, okay, so like anybody in the world can see what I'm posting for JMark? I don't think I want that. And that's one of the stumbling blocks that we had to overcome intellectually was no, that's not the case. So that's my take on that. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, getting back to leading the primary topic and doing it from a security standpoint, it can be extremely hard with a multitude of systems to make sure you're collaborating in a secure manner, to make sure you're communicating in a secure manner, and the ability to use Workplace to authenticate to the authentication platforms that we already use, to authenticate and use the multi-factor authentication tools that we already use. I never have to worry about sending something to Christina and thinking that somebody else might get that, because there's multi-factor authentication. There's we take security pretty seriously, and also I was thinking about this the other day because I keep getting in conversations. I mean, how brilliant was Facebook for making the name Workplace? I mean, I've had so many conversations where they're like, I'm not talking about your workplace. I'm talking about Workplace. Workplace by Facebook. It was a very good name choice with whoever chose that.
Well, I mean, the thing is as we're all attesting, which again for me has been the thing since I started with JMark full-time remote, Workplace is my workplace. In reality, I mean, other than this room that I'm in, Workplace is my workplace.
Yeah, it's kind of all of ours now, which kind of leads into a question from Jessica that we had on Facebook. How has Workplace helped you through this recent transition to working from home for the entire company?
I think that it's leveled up a whole bunch of different areas. For example, the executive team, everybody on the executive team, this isn't downplaying everybody else's, but the executive team, everyone gets pulled in many, many different directions. There's departments to run, there's a multitude of things they're working on. And I think that our collaboration on the executive team has increased many-fold through Workplace since the work from home has happened, because it's forced us to communicate about things that we would normally only communicate about once a week in our meeting. And it's forced us to have those conversations. And then we have another level. We have the leadership team, which is the same thing. We've been able to, on the leadership team, talk about problems with working from home, or challenges, I should say, that people individual managers are having, and that's allowed an open communication platform that has never existed. Even before, we were using the leadership chat as more of a notification. Hey, we're doing this. Hey, doing this. Now it's turned into more of a, I'm seeing this happen. Is anybody else seeing this? Or I'm seeing this. And it's allowed us to essentially better communicate and better collaborate and better lead people throughout the organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll say for me as a team member who went from working in the office to now being completely remote, I don't feel like anything has changed for me as far as how I work and what I do every day, other than people aren't coming into my office to talk or ask a question. So that's been amazing, because I can't imagine what a lot of other people are going through right now who have just been thrown into this, and probably everything's changed for them.
Good point.
Yeah, I like what you said, Todd, about what the executive team is doing with, communicating a little bit more about those things. And I would imagine, and then you and Jeff can speak to this specifically, but in the past, some of those things, something you're trying to figure out, you might kind of have this equation in your head. Well, the only time I can talk to the whole executive team about it in a meeting is it a big enough deal to bring it up in a meeting, versus in chat, you can just be like, hey, I'm dealing with this right now. Anybody have any thoughts? And it brings in collaboration and, melding of minds that you wouldn't get otherwise.
Very true. And I think also that it's allowed us to connect more as an organization. Leader to leader, executive to leader, manager to employee, employee to employee. It's allowed us to, I think Ryan on our team, he mentioned it in a meeting about a month ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, that since we've gone remote, there was somebody brought up this fear of, is there any concern about the culture as we go remote? And Ryan stated in this meeting, he's like, I think the culture has improved since going to remote. He didn't say exactly like that, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but essentially I think he said something like, there's more culture than ever before. I think were his exact words, from the standpoint of everybody that's the system that we collaborate in, that's the system we connect in. Before workplace, it was send an email and hope to get a response in a timely manner, and maybe put a creative subject line or a read receipt in the email. And now I can send a quick chat and they'll respond when they can. And I think there's an understanding of respect in the standpoint of, I can send a message to our CEO and he knows that I'm not just wasting his time, that he needs to look at that message. And when I get a message from somebody in the organization, they know that I respect. I may not respond right away, but I will look at that and will respond in a manner. And it's allowed a much shortening, I think, of communication versus where it was before with just email.
I would add a quick thing to that, a personal experience that happened about a month ago or so. Time is kind of weird these days, I think we all know, but at least a month ago, there was an earthquake here in Utah. And, it wasn't a big deal, but it was enough that I was, it kind of knocked down the power for better part of a day and stuff. And the next day, once I was back online and everything, Tom, the CEO, sent me a message on chat, just asked me how it was going, checking in with me to make sure I was okay and my family was okay. And I think that is something that allows communication like that, just directly from the CEO to an employee on the workplace, that wouldn't happen in any other way, especially in a case like this where I'm not in the office face to face. And that's a huge thing, I think, for all the things we're talking about, morale and motivation and culture.
Absolutely. Any last questions coming in that we should answer? Christine, have you seen one?
We have one right here. You did hit on it a little bit, but it says, as a leader, how do you use Workplace to collaborate and connect with other leaders in your organization? Do you find it useful for not just top-down collaboration, but leader-to-leader or executive communication?
Yeah, I think we touched on that. It's just provided a much better avenue to communicate with every face of the organization, whether it's one-to-many or one-to-one. There's just so many different avenues, and so I think that we've had a really good discussion here today about leading a remote team with using Workplace. We have an amazing guide that we developed. If you're trying to figure out how to use or how to utilize a remote work team, it talks a little bit about some of the tactics that we use in Workplace. Not a lot about it, but it's really more of an overall guide. It's something like 100 and something pages on every aspect of working remotely and mobilizing a workforce. And we'll throw a link to that in our chat on Facebook. And if anybody listening to this is interested in Workplace and getting a demo of Workplace, you can contact us through our website. There's a form on pretty much every page, jmark.com, and we'd be more than happy to schedule a demo and talk more about how Workplace can help your organization. Workplace is used in every type of organization. If you don't think it's possible for you, I mean, it's used in hotels, to employees, manufacturing, to employees that don't even have email addresses. And it's used in restaurants, it's used in service industries, and just so many different industries that it can be used in. And it's been a massive assistance in working remotely, but then more than that, just being able to lead as a leader, leading a group of people remotely. It's been a huge help for us. Any last thoughts anybody has?
Nope, I think you said it pretty good.
Great. Well then, come over and visit us at jmark.com, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for attending this podcast. We hope it has been informative and helped convey that at JMark, we are people first and technology second. To learn more and discover additional content relevant to your business, please visit us online at jmark.com or at LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You may also call us at 844-44-JMark. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you again.